Hey everyone, Brian from Wrenches and Rides, and today we're going to do a step-by-step tutorial on how to install the Rockford Fosgate Stage 4 kit into your Pro XP Ultimate. We already have the front speakers in, we have the ride command, everything's there. We just have to take a lot of this plastic off the front and put a few little pieces in. So this is going to kind of be a video step-by-step tutorial of what the instructions are, so stay tuned. We've unboxed everything that comes with the Stage 4 kit between the speakers, the brackets, subs, and 2 wiring harnesses. We are also going to put in the Auxilary light harness from Polaris because the future means we're going to put a light in and we won't have to take any of the dash apart to get to it. So anything else that you might want to install under the dash, even if it's just, I think I might, let's get to it now. The wiring harness that comes with this is really nice. Everything is there, it's going to fit like it would from the factory. I like that because it's a lot better than what Rockford Fosgate did with the Can-Am in their Stage 5 kit. That was more of a hodgepodge of pieces that were more universal but all thrown together and made that kit. The Can-Am Stage 5 kit had nicer speakers. There's no doubt here. While I like how it's integrated, just the speaker quality here is not as nice as what you got with that kit. Let's get to following the instructions and tearing the machine apart. First, we'll remove this piece of the hood. We need to remove this storage compartment, remembering there is a little USB dongle in there. It's really easy if you use a pry bar, and just be careful. To get the USB out, just remove the rubber piece that keeps everything intact, and everything else should slide out. We need to remove the 3 pieces of trim, basically like a car. They just pull up. Make sure that you pull up fairly straight on them. To remove the glove box, we have 7 bolts, 3 larger ones, 4 smaller ones. It's pretty obvious where they go. I'm going to move to the center of the dash and remove these 2. With the steering wheel down, we can access the 4 on the driver's side. This one down here, we're gonna have to get with a ratchet. Pretty simple. The dash can be moved at this point, but we're still connected on the fenders. So just push down on the dash and lightly roll your finger between and pull up. That will remove it. On that side, just pull it back slightly and we'll do the other side. That's it. Just make sure you retain all these little bolts that slide over for the front. Put this and all the bolts in a different area. We're going to continue disassembling for the sub by removing the speaker panel. We need to carefully remove the 4 bolts that hold the speaker in place. We have 2 bolts that hold the speaker panel in place. Our glove box is just sitting here, and if you move it over, you can see the connection for the speaker. Carefully disconnect that. Pull this side handle all the way out, and pull your dash back a little bit. This speaker will kind of rotate itself up and out. There's really no good way for both of us to be in here, but you're supposed to put this relay in number 4. I'm just temporarily installing it in number 5 while I take off the ground. We're going to connect the power and ground for the sub amplifier up to this power bar that we have. I'm going to put this underneath the actual ground wire. It says 44 inch-pounds on this, so be pretty careful. That's exactly it. Interesting, that one was already loose. So I had not touched that before. Not a good thing. This too is going to go underneath. This grommet was not over this prior, and I think it would be a good thing. Okay, so I'm not going to plug this in, or this relay, into anything just yet, because I'm not sure about how much cord I need, which I think number 4 would be fine, but it somewhat restricts me slightly. So I'm going to keep it in 2. I can always move it. This piece here connects up right underneath the dash. There is a auxiliary speaker harness here, which is a lot easier to see from the outside and get to, but it's right here. There is a cover over the top of it. You have to take that off. It makes it look like it won't connect, but I can't get it from in here, so I can't see it. I'm gonna come around. This is the cover that's on the outside of it. It is literally sitting right here. You can't miss it. It doesn't look like it should connect until you take that cover off. And then everything seems to come together. There's a little pin inside that you have to get connected up correctly. So then this leaves our subwoofer connection open and easy to move. And as you can see, I can move this down the road to any one of these positions, but I feel like I don't want to stop myself because putting this sub in can be a pain in the butt. On the subwoofer, we need to loosen these 3 bolts just enough so we can get it moving. Don't remove them. We're going to then install these 2 clips down in your footwell. It's probably impossible for you to see this, but these clips are very, very easy to find where they go. Get our wiring harness out of the way so we don't pinch it. Before you start this part, take a couple deep breaths. It's not very fun. Sorry you missed a couple cuss words there. And now with absolutely zero room, we have to hook up our harness. Which, thank God we didn't put anything into place before. But it's all right here. Bingo. Now we can just put everything else back into place. Make sure that we didn't screw anything else up. And get to putting our ground on. This grounding strap is long enough, but they could have gave us another inch just to make sure that we had enough. But once it's completely installed and screwed in place, it won't be an issue. There is zero room in here. We didn't need to install a bolt this long into this grounding strap either. Go Polaris. I had to take out all these push pins in order to remove this enough to get this bolt out. Last thing I want to do now is drop it. There's 2 grounds connected to it already. Let's see if this bolt's even going to fit through here. And it doesn't. Nice. Because of possible whine, I'm going against my better judgment and gonna drill this out so it fits. So I have a 5/16 inch drill bit in here. I'll wallow it out. Hope they fix that issue in the near future. Now we'll put our pins back in place, tighten this subwoofer down. Now we got to jimmy this speaker back into place. Just take your time, make sure that the speaker stays intact and it's not pushed into any metal. All right, that sucked. Let's plug this speaker back in, go through and reinstall everything that we did taking the speaker out, and then screw in the bottom screws on this subwoofer, making sure that this handle that's going to come in does not hit the ground wire or anything else that is up here. So that's the beginning of stage 3. We just have to put the plastics over the top. We have the subwoofer in. It's a good time to see if anything is working at this point. Helps us troubleshoot. So let's put something on here quick. Interesting song. It's absolutely huge. So let's start working on the back. To start on the rear, let's remove the seats. This would be a great time to adjust your seats. If you didn't know, you can recline them back 2 more positions. The instructions from here start to talk about a 4-seater. We have a 2-seater. I'm going to skip ahead and do something a little ahead of time. I'm going to remove this back panel. Glovebox is going to be pretty simple. You have 2 1/4 turn bolts here. You do have a 12 volt accessory on the inside. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. We have 4 bolts here. Two on each side. Because of the excess cable that we have for a 4-seater and the confusion a little bit with some of Polaris's comments saying we should have some clips here when we don't, I am still going to continue working on the back forward. So I'm going to route these wires somewhat of where Polaris says to and where they say there should be some clips where these little blue pieces of tape are. I'm actually just going to tape them into place where another wiring harness is to make things neat and clean. To help routing this rear cable, I'm going to remove this back section quick and then install one of the speaker stands. While I'm here, there should be a little satisfaction, so I'm just going to plug in the speaker and pop it into place. I'll tell you, these instructions are fairly backwards, is how they tell you to put a lot of these pieces in place, including the speakers. I'm going to tell you, Polaris usually has pretty good instructions, and the fit on these speakers is not exactly how I'd like it, especially the passenger one. It seemed to rattle around no matter what I did to it. So what I'm doing before I run the wiring or anything is getting these speakers set how I want them. And to do so, I'm just taking a little bit of foam, 1/2 inch thick, and dropping it on top of the seatbelt bolt. That seems to be a place where it could move around a little bit and give me a little bit of vibration. So I'm going to take that out of the equation. And while I'm at it, it looks like it's brass inside the speakers. I'm going to put a little lube on there just so things go in and out if I have to a little bit faster. Disappointed to say the least with the instructions for the back. Maybe if I had a 4-seater, things would start to make a little bit more sense. I am nervous because I don't want to get into the same position I was in the front, where it seemed like you had to take apart and remove a lot more things than what made sense, and then putting them back together was just as difficult because too much was back in the way. So I'm going to try to find an easier way of making this work. And since the connectors are not here, but there is some tape letting me know where we should be connecting, unless I am missing something, I'm just going to zip tie these 2 harnesses together and make sure that they stay in place since we're messing with stuff around the motor. So I followed the factory harness and put the zip ties in where it says to. You know, those little blue pieces match up to where there's white tape, so everything seemed right there. Once I get to this point, I'm seeing some other harnesses down here that have these types of push fittings in them that are not pushed in place, and there's nowhere to really push some of these in. So unfortunately, I'm going to start to take apart the driver's side. I think I could snake this to the front without doing anything else, but just to kind of help you guys out, I want to take this driver's side apart, maybe some of the passenger, lift it up slightly, make sure I have everything out of the way, see if some of these clips will actually start to make some sense, and we'll run this up to the front. So after starting to pull this side apart and some of the nuts behind were breaking, it just wasn't a good situation. There's a hole that's just 1.5 feet up that all I had to do is really get the wire from this point over top of the storage area to this hole. It's simple. There's nothing that is really there. And it took me 2 seconds to snake it. So it seemed a hell of a lot smarter just to snake this through than it does to tear everything apart again and then have a machine that either isn't completely bolted back together or is just a rattling mess. So while this isn't part of the instructions, if you have the opportunity, have a little snake. Literally first try, I got it. So what I'm going to do now is tape this up and pull it back through. So I can't really do this on camera, but all I have to do is connect this connector up to here, zip tie these guys in place, finish zip tying the rest of it back here so it's not in any danger, and we're ready to start going back together. So I zip tied all the wires up through here to make sure that nothing was in the way of the shifter, nothing was in the way of any cables, nothing got too low. So any of the cooling lines or anything like that, the drivetrain, everything is nice, tucked up high, plugged in up front. It's perfect. I'm thrilled that I didn't take the whole inside apart because I think that would have been just not worth it at all. Put the back pieces on, which are simple, slide into place. We didn't have to remove the 12-volt connector that's inside the glove box. The glove box is going to go back on the same way that it came off. It's just going to take a little bit of maneuvering around. Put these 4 bolts in. We're going to be able to drop in our cup holders and just get everything set up again the way it should. This is going to be so super simple and will be done a lot faster. While doing this myself, I may not have followed the instructions perfectly, but I got it done, and I got it done in a way that I like it. And that's important to me. This sub moved a little bit. This wasn't perfectly tight. So I put some more of this rubber foam underneath to make sure that that sub was perfectly in place and not going to move at all. Just another thing you can do, just like we did the back speakers, when you do this yourself. Now to put the front together, we're just going to do everything basically in the reverse order as what we took it apart. All right, we're back together. Took 4 hours from the point of starting. That includes figuring everything out, filming, and just messing with some parts that didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. You should be able to knock this out in about 2. No issue. Just go at it. If you have a friend It might even take a little bit less time. It's not hard. Like I said, go at this, maybe go at it differently. Do the sub last. I think that would give you more room to get your hands around up front and to maybe fish wires through if you need to. But it really wasn't that bad. Take some time, make sure that you have everything that you want to put underneath your hood. I've got this extra switch here for lights. Don't have any lights yet, but I might at some point. Let's hook this guy up, get some music going.
3 a.m. bus count. A few more days in the lair for the new age Indian airflow. Lord, it looks like we are headed for a wild weekend. A couple stages, a couple...
It's pretty loud. Guess if you're messing with the EQ, definitely pulled the bass down. It's much better than it used to be by a long shot. It is not the Can-Am X3 Stage 5 kit. The bass is probably as good. Feel like I'm yelling with the music, but the bass is probably just about as good simply because it's up front. There's a lot more vibrations. The way the subwoofer comes down, I like that it's not under the seat. Where we got a lot more sound out of the Stage 5 was through the pods in the back with the extra amplifier. I don't believe that these are amplified at all. They're just running directly off the possible unit that's behind the ride command system. There's another Rockford Fosgate. Maybe that's an amp, maybe not. It's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth putting it in yourself just so you can see how things go, learn the machine a little bit, make sure it's into the way you want to do it. And I guess if you're not mechanically inclined and you don't have patience, don't do it. Let someone else do it. Come back behind, make sure everything else is put back together the way you want it. So check out the Can-Am X3 installation we did. We're gonna have a lot more on this system. In fact, we're gonna get it out and ride here. We can't get out, we are under that stay-at-home warning. So at this point in time, this is all you can get. Appreciate you guys sticking with me. Subscribe to the channel, give us a like in this video. As always, thanks for your time. Have a great day.